So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam woke up from this revelation, and he refused to say anything about it to anyone, because he was like, what is this? How can I marry her when she's the ex-wife of my adopted son? This is when Allah sent down the revelation outlawing adoption. We have to understand, guys, we talked about this in our class yesterday. Before the advent of Islam, the Arabs used to adopt children. And after adopting them, that child would possess the same rights and authority as their real children, despite not being so. Even though there was no blood tie, this child would be called by the father's name. This child would also have the same rights to inheritance and marriage. However, this is not correct in accordance to Islam. So Allah sent down the words of the Quran at this moment, making adoption haram. So despite the repeated warnings of the Prophet for Zayd to stay married to Zainab, he had divorced her. And Allah's revelation that he received when he was asleep said to marry her immediately after her iddat period is over. And Allah commanded the Prophet to marry her. And this marriage was to be performed without witnesses, without a guardian or a dowry. Allah just put the command out, marry her after her waiting period. So again, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept this to himself because he was worried about what would his followers say? What would the hypocrites say? Allah knew what the dilemma was that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was facing. And that's when Allah sent down this second revelation. Allah sent down the words where he says in the interpretation of the meaning, behold, you did say to one who had received the grace of Allah and your favor, keep her in marriage and fear Allah. But you hid in your heart that which Allah is about to make manifest. You fear the people, but instead you should fear me, Allah. And after Zayd has dissolved his marriage to her, we join her in marriage to you, so that in the future there will be no difficulty to the believers in regards to marriage with the wife of their adopted sons. So here you can see Allah let it be known in his second revelation. I have already married you to her, Muhammad. I know what you want in your heart. Don't worry. I have outlawed adoption. Adoption is bad. Adoption is dirty. It's not clean. You will set the precedence, just like you married her to Zayd to set the precedence that social status is of no value in Islam. You are now going to set the precedence that neither is adoption. Adoption doesn't exist no more. It's outlawed. So when Allah sent those verses down, the Prophet then announced what Allah had said. So here we can see this verse clearly states three things. Number one, from what happened here, we can see that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did his best to try to help Zayd and encourage Zayd to continue his marriage to Zainab. He kept telling him over and over again to stick it out with her, but it just didn't work. Also, we see that even though Allah had told him that he was to marry Zainab after her waiting period, the prophet was worried about what people would say because of the adoption. Okay, which shows how caring our prophet was. And then after Zayd had separated from his wife, Allah knew that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to marry Zainab. So Allah let it be known, you can marry her. And not only can you, but I'm marrying you to her. So that verse of the Quran is very important. It was a pivotal moment in our history. A pivotal moment in our history. And another pivotal moment occurred after their wedding. We'll talk about that next week. But this was a pivotal moment. Adoption was outlawed. Just like after the Battle of Uhud, Allah outlawed intoxicants, alcohol. Well, here we can see Allah is outlawing adoption. Okay?